There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Learn, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello, welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy, ready for another week here in the wellbeing space alongside my great friend Joe Stanley. Welcome, Joe.
Darcy, it's always so great to see you. I have to say I've been really energised this past week with some of the most astounding things happening in the world. The three amazing scientists who were awarded the Nobel Prize for Medicine for identifying the hepatitis C virus. It's an extraordinary breakthrough. It means there's now a chance of eradicating the hep C virus altogether.
Always feel like a serious underachiever when you think of people winning Nobel Prize,
Yes.
Joe. But while we're on inspirational achievements, it seems kids have inspired Lego to make quite a significant change to their packaging. They're ditching the plastic bags inside the box set for paper ones, which is a great move.
So great. And how great are our upcoming generations in making a noise about things that impact the environment? Also inspiring is the comeback story of NRL Panthers star winger Josh Mansour.
Yes, on this, the NRL Grand Final is today. It is one of the great nights of the year, and we're all set for a massive match in Sydney, Joe, so looking forward to that. Always sit down and enjoy the NRL Grand Final. Well, up in Brisbane, a couple of inspirational lads are doing their bit to help restore dignity to the many Aussies living rough on the streets.
Plus, you have to love someone who dances their way through a crisis, right? I'm sure you do. Dance away. No.
Maybe not.
We'll meet the Melbourne performer who's gained a worldwide following for literally dancing in the, albeit empty, streets during lockdown.
You seen me dance before, Joe?
No, I
It's
haven't.
not a great sight. You mentioned the Nobel Prize a little earlier, Joe. We've also seen some major breakthroughs in healthcare technology. GPs are now doing teleconsultations, surgeries are being aided by robots, and pill-sized cameras are giving us a look inside the human body.
But wait, there's more. An American husband and wife team have developed a hologram of a patient's heart to assist when a person's undergoing surgery. So can you believe that, Das?
No.
It is really amazing. The 3D virtual heart floats above the patient while they're in the operating theatre, allowing surgeons to enter the chambers of the heart model while they're operating. It's amazing stuff. I caught up with its inventors in the US to find out more about this incredible software of the future. John, can you explain in layman's terms how the technology works?
Right now, there's technology in the cath lab to create 3D models of the heart. The problem that we've seen is that they're displaying them in 2 dimensions, and they display them at orthogonal planes. So what that means is that you might be looking at your hand and you see one image that looks like this and one image that looks like this. And so in your mind, you can think, okay, well, it looks like a hand and it has 5 fingers, but it's actually a very narrow object. And in your mind, you have to reconstruct all of that and say, okay, this is what that 3D object looks like. When you're looking at a heart, and especially if it's a different heart, like say from someone who has congenital heart disease, it's very difficult for the physician to constantly be doing those calculations, that mental geometry, to put the 2 projections together and say, okay, that looks like a hand in 3 dimensions. And so what we're doing is taking that 3-dimensional object, putting it as a hologram, and then they can look at it really easily. It's a much more intuitive way of understanding the 3-dimensional geometry.
What kinds of data do you use to make that initial hologram?
Yeah, so I think that it's tricky to explain, but it has to do with this GPS that's on the catheter. So you can imagine that if you had a GPS on the end of my finger, and then I started poking around on the inside of my hand, eventually you'd get a sense for what the inside of my hand looks like. And so what Jen does is she actually explores in the heart ventricle or in the atrium until she gets that inside image, that inside shape of what that looks like. And at the same time, she's recording electrical signals so that she can get an idea of timing-wise how that wave travels across that surface.
So there are groups that are working at taking pre-procedural CT scans or MRIs of patients and then using that to plan the procedure. So rather than using a week's old data or a month's old data, we're going to create those maps during the procedure, which is reflective of the patient's state right then and there when they're on the table.
So can you explain then, John, how it works? You're wearing a VR set, but then you can still see. How does that work?
Yeah, so they're diffractive lenses, so that you put on the headset and you can see right through it, and then it's shining a light kind of through the top that diffracts and shows that hologram, one image for your left eye, one image for your right eye. And by putting those together, your brain makes a 3D image that looks like a hologram.
And that image is the patient's heart, is it?
Yeah.
And can the doctor or the surgeon interact with the hologram?
That was a really important thing that we kind of came across as we were building this, is the physicians really like to control their own data.
So in what way? What might they use that for? How would they control what they're looking at?
Now we can take that hologram as it is, and we can look at it in different angles. We can slightly turn it to the left or to the right, rotate it up or down, make it very big, and actually put ourselves within the chamber of the heart and look around if we need to.
So the obvious question is, can this then be translated to other surgeries and other parts of the body?
What we've achieved with the current system is the ability to show three-dimensional data, to show it in real time, and to show your tools or your catheters in that geometry, and really see that instantaneous updating of data. I think that we're only going to be limited by our creativity on this. I think it's inevitable that we're going to see augmented reality in all kinds of surgical procedures. But I think what's really exciting, and you have to be a little bit more imaginative for this, is to see, like we were just discussing, how is this going to impact medicine in general as we practice it? When are we going to see it influence other kinds of surgical procedures, interventional radiology, interventional cardiology? When are we going to see it in surgeries? When are we going to see it in something like ENT surgery, neurosurgery, abdominal surgery? That's, to me, that will be a very exciting moment.
I mean, Darcy, it's incredible to think that it was only 160 years ago that surgeons worked out they needed to wash their hands and sterilise equipment before operations. And now there's 3D printers being used in organ transplants, stem cell advances. I mean, the list goes on. It's so exciting.
Sure is. And while we're on the heart, this month is also known as Shocktober, which is all about knowing where you can access automated defibrillators or AEDs, Joe.
Ambulance Victoria is on a mission to ensure that we all know where your nearest AED is located. So get online to find yours. It could save a life. We'll be back after the break.
Well, there are so many special days these days, it's hard to keep track, but one that does deserve a mention is Grandparents' Day, which is actually today, Joe.
Oh, and don't kids love their nanas and pops, the really generous, kind people that give them whatever their parents won't give them?
They are lifesavers, Joe, as you and I know, when kids are very young, and the relationship that develops works both ways. The kids love it, grandparents love it. I know your mum's got a beautiful relationship with Willow, Joe.
Yes, I just love seeing my daughter Willow with her Grammy, which is my mum, and also Nan and Pop, who live in the country, so she'll chat away on the phone to them forever. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing my mum and Beck's mum as well, their connection, as well as Beck's dad, who's had a great relationship, great interaction with the kids. And I think that stage where you get the joy and you hand them back must be pretty special.
I know, I can't wait. No, I'm joking.
I think the idea of seeing your kids have kids, we actually say it like that too. You can understand how special it is for so many grandparents.
Yeah.
Right now in Australia, though, more than 116,000 people are homeless, and that statistic is even more alarming given our relatively small population and our reputation as the lucky country.
Heartbreakingly, 25,000 people without a home are 18 or younger. But people sleeping rough on the streets are just the tip of the iceberg. What about those hidden from view, living in cars, temporary hostels, or on someone's couch?
Yeah, Joe, while the main focus is obviously providing the two most essential services of food and shelter, often it's the smaller things that can make a huge difference. That's why this next story is so uplifting.
Every night in Australia, 116,000 people don't have a safe place to call home, and those really simple things like having a shower, like washing your clothes, but most importantly, just having a chat can have a massive impact on someone's day.
20-year-old Nick Marchese and Lucas Patchett found a gaping hole in the services available for Brisbane's homeless.
So Orange Sky started here in Brisbane in October 2014 with my best mate Lucas. A really crazy idea to put 2 washing machines and 2 dryers in the back of a van and simply drive around and wash and dry clothes for free. And our first mission was to improve hygiene standards.
The idea was so successful, they now have 32 vans across Australia and New Zealand. To date, they've washed 1.4 million loads of laundry with the help from volunteers like Rebecca Marshall.
A big part of our service is dignity, so having clean clothes helps to maintain dignity, and in a sense as well it helps to break the stigma of homelessness in the sense that it makes people more approachable, it makes them feel better in and of themselves. You know, even just basic day-to-day tasks that people are doing are very difficult with like dirty or smelly clothes, so being able to offer that service is really important.
But perhaps the most valuable part of their service is the waiting time, while the clothes are being washed.
One of the biggest privileges in my life is someone trusting me with their only possessions in their life, but furthermore trusting us with the time that it takes to sit down and have a chat. And I hope that the friends and volunteers get out of it, but also acknowledge that I get a lot of that out of that in my life too.
As the laundry machines are running, Orange Sky volunteers do their best to link people with vital services, as well as lending an ear to those who feel alone and disconnected.
Something that Nick and Lucas always talk about is the time that you get from having the clothes in the washer, and then that can lead to conversation, which I think is another really important part of the service, because I think a lot of homeless people feel quite invisible and don't get much human contact. So being able to have a conversation with our friends while their clothes are in the washing is really great.
But these guys don't sit still for long. This year, Orange Sky Laundry diversified and added a shower truck to its fleet.
It's very much like a domestic shower, just a mixer tap, shower head, there's a soap dispenser, we provide a towel, and, you know, really it functions pretty much just like a small version of your shower at home.
Hygiene and human connection is pivotal to life, and I think we've seen that this year with things like COVID-19, reminding ourselves globally that those things that we take for granted, whether it be a safe place to call home, a place to keep clean, or someone to talk to, is so important. Orange Sky isn't going to solve what is a massive problem. Orange Sky is a small part of a community coming together, and we can build relationships and trust and hopefully then connect people on whatever journey they're on.
There you go. 2 members of Gen Y taking control, placing value where it counts, Das.
Brilliant. Those 2 young guys, the founders, were also awarded jointly the Australians of the Year, and deservedly so from my point of view.
I wonder how many of the Gen Ys or Gen Zs will be smokers in years to come. About 4.5 trillion cigarettes are discarded every year worldwide, which makes them the most littered item on Earth. And it's the butts that are the problem. We all know the effect they have on marine life.
Yeah, just another thing to think about if you're lighting up a cigarette, Joe, but there's also your health, which is very important.
Yeah, it's a very good incentive, Das. And while giving up smoking is one of the toughest things you'll ever do, you won't believe just how much of a change it'll make. So why not give it a go? You might not get it right the first day, but try the next. You'll be doing your bit for the environment and your health.
A huge night tonight. NRL fans across the country gearing up for tonight's grand final. And, Joe, there's going to be about 40,000 people lucky enough to get to Sydney's ANZ Stadium to watch the game live. Millions more tuning in around the country, including me. I can't wait for tonight.
You've got to love all the sport at the moment, Das. For a while there, both the NRL and the AFL looked like there was no way around all the obstacles, but geez, they've fought on and it's so great.
I've got great respect for all the people behind the scenes in the AFL and the NRL to go into hubs for players to move houses with a day's notice and to keep the season going on was a great effort all round. But like the AFL, the pandemic saw the NRL tipped on its head this year with games being cancelled before resuming in late May, 20-round competition. So as we said, the ability to get the competition through to grand final, Ray, serious achievement.
I agree. And the standout team of 2020 are the Penrith Panthers, who had a spectacular season and finished the year as minor premiers. One of their star players is winger Josh Mansour, who debuted with the club in 2012 and was named Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Josh is an absolute superstar. He's one of the club's leading try scorers and his on-field achievements are simply outstanding. However, they've come at a cost. He's overcome a couple of horrific injuries to bounce back stronger than ever. And in the countdown to tonight's NRL Night of Nights, we caught up with the game's shining star.
I was fortunate enough to play in the under-20 system there at Souths, and unfortunately it didn't go the way I planned it to be in terms of playing first grade there. But when I heard that Penrith were interested, I just took it with both hands. I knew the club was on the rise, and Ivan was coming to the club, and I saw the roster, and it was something I wanted to be a part of. I'll never forget when Ivan gave me the call. I actually called him first to tell him I was late to training, and then he goes, "Oh, how long will you be?" I was like, "Oh, probably half hour." And he's like, "Oh, I'll just see when you get here." But he couldn't wait, so he called me 5 minutes later, just told me, "Listen, mate, you're going to take too long. I'll just tell you over the phone, your debut this week." And I remember the drive to training, I was like jumping up and down, the music was blaring. Called my mum, called my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and oh mate, it was one of the best feelings ever. 2016 was probably one of my best years playing footy-wise. I was actually also fortunate enough to play in the State of Origin arena, which is probably the most physical and the fastest games I've ever played in and been a part of. And the green and gold, honestly, I can't express how grateful I am and how lucky I have been in my career so far. The green and gold is obviously the pinnacle of my career. It's everyone wants to be a part of that and wear that proud jersey. So for me, it was definitely a very, very proud moment for myself and my family.
King to pass to LG to kick right across to the corner. There came Don flying through.
It was like, it took 2 seconds from when the ball left his boot, I reckon. I just went like that, and bang, Don just kind of hit me flush straight on my face. And when it was on the ground, it felt like a hammer just whacked me in the head. And I actually was surprised it didn't knock me out, to be honest with you. But when I was on the ground, I was kind of clutching at my face, and it just felt like there was nothing there. It just felt like my whole face was just caved in. And the physios came running over and they were asking, let me see it. But I was so petrified to show them because I could feel it, like there was nothing there, and I just didn't want to see their reaction. We pretty much had 2 scenarios. Either the one path we went was obviously the small incisions. So there was one up my eyelid, one here, and in my mouth. But that wasn't guaranteed because there was a part of bone behind my eyeball that he wasn't sure he could get to, which was pretty much pointing towards my eye, which could cause me to be blind. Or the big operation was pretty much cut me from my right ear to crossover and just, like the movie Face Off, I don't know if you've seen it, they just pull my face forward. So I obviously wanted to go with option A.
He's in big trouble here, Josh Mansour.
6.5, 7 hours all up, the surgery, and I remember when I woke up from the operation, the first people I was to lay eyes on was my wife and my daughter, and it was, pretty emotional time for myself, like knowing the fact how much risks were involved, and to know that it all worked out in the end, mate, I was just extremely lucky. I'll never forget the first game back. So many mental demons, so much. I was scared, I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty scared, but you just gotta go out, it's what I wanted to do. So at the end of the day, all I had to do was go out there and do my job as best as I can and not hinder the team's performance. I had to play my role. 2019 was probably the darkest time in my whole career. I remember round 1, we were playing the Parramatta Eels, big game. First half, I do a grade 3 AC joint, and I was just like, I'll go into half time, and I was like telling the doctor, what do I do? And I remember they just gave me the good old needle, local it up, and didn't really do the trick. Still in a lot of pain, and I missed a week and ended up playing, I can't remember how many more games I played after that, but I was just in pretty much pain pretty much the whole year. I wanted to play because I wanted to help the team in any way I could. But looking back, I should have just, put my pride and my ego aside and, just been honest. Like I said, I'm no good. Like, I was probably like 30%. My wife really picked me up in the tough times. I spoke to her quite a bit. Shane Elford at the club I spoke to a couple of times. He's our welfare manager. I spoke to him quite a bit. But just, again, it's just like, just one of those things where you just have to go through it yourself. Like, there's going to be people there that they're going to pick you up and help you and talk to you and try to get you through those dark times. But at the end of the day, it's just going to rely on yourself.
Yo will keep it going for Luai. Cut out ball. A chance for Mansour in game number 150.
I love this club to death, mate. Like, I'm indebted to this club for what it's been able to give me in my life. It's pretty much instilled all the values in myself I get from the club. So, mate, I'm very lucky to be here. I'm just lucky to be part of this journey, and hopefully I can have a lot of many years to come.
Oh, you just watch the bravery and the courage of someone like Josh Mansour, and you're reminded, Joe, just how good an effort it is sport stars play through incredible pain. Takes a fair bit of courage and effort to do that.
Oh, I think they're amazing. You're amazing. I include you in that.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
did that.
Yeah, long time ago. Hey, but COVID-19 just didn't tip our sporting seasons on their head. It changed everything, as we know, the way we eat, the way we drink, the exercise, and also the way we interact, Joe.
Well, one thing I do know is that our alcohol consumption has skyrocketed. I don't know why I know that, but 1 in 5 Aussies are saying they're drinking more during the pandemic. Spending on alcohol jumped by 12.7% to $540 million from June to August, the highest figure on record.
Yeah, it's hard to work those figures out and understand how accurate they are, given we're not buying drinks in pubs and clubs and restaurants anymore, but particularly here in Melbourne. But pretty high numbers, aren't they, when you think that increase year on year, people have been turning to alcohol more than ever.
It can be a little alarming, but also understandable given the amount of time we've spent at home. I can understand it. Heinzie, though, is not a drinker, as you know, Darcy. No. So he's always coming up with alcohol-free alternatives that usually have a healthy twist, and they always taste delicious. So here's one that he and GQ have whipped up that'll curb the urge for alcohol as well as detox the liver.
GQ, can you believe it's nearly the end of the year? I mean, the silly season is fast approaching, and this is that time where people start to let their healthy lifestyles go by the wayside. I'm talking about an extra celebratory drink or 2, or even 3. But you know what? It's really important that we still look after our organs such as our liver, which is why my smoothie is going to come in handy.
Goodness me, Heinzie, the silly season already. Everything in moderation, I would say. But every now and again, we forget the very important and vital role that our liver plays in our health.
Absolutely, GQ. It's the largest solid organ in our body, and it's responsible for the metabolic processes. I'm talking about things like breaking down carbs and fats, detoxing the body, and producing bile, which helps with the absorption and breakdown of nutrients.
That's a big call, Heinzie. And you're telling me that your smoothie can contribute?
I absolutely stand by it, and it all comes down to the berries. Dark berries in particular, like blueberries, raspberries, and these cherries. They're packed with antioxidants called polyphenols. These protect the liver from damage.
And Heinzie, don't forget our herbal helpers as well.
Hold that thought, GQ. I'm going to blitz this baby up. All right, GQ, what do you got for me?
Well, let's start with milk thistle, Heinzie. Now, this is a herb related to the daisy, native to Mediterranean countries. It has 3 very important functions. It maintains effective liver function, it supports natural liver detoxification processes, and it also helps relieve digestive discomfort, things like indigestion.
Sounds liver-loving for sure.
Well, I've got another one, Heinzie. It's a vine herb called kudzu, which is native to East Asian countries. Now, this amazing herb has been shown to reduce alcohol consumption. Alcohol, as we know, puts further strain on the liver, and that can bring in other diseases.
Well, we definitely don't want that. So how can we get more milk thistle and kudzu into our lives, GQ?
Well, here's the option, Heinzie. They come in a supplement.
And along with my choc cherry ripe smoothie, which tastes like the real thing but a whole lot healthier, cheers to the silly season.
And cheers, Heinzie. I'm off to do my Christmas shopping.
As long as there's a Prezi in there for me, mate.
The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Go Healthy. For superior supplement for healthy energy and vitality, try New Zealand's #1 premium supplement, now available in Australia.
We mentioned at the top of the show the leaps in technology and medicine, but there's also been some incredible leaps in entertainment, especially during lockdown, Joe.
Oh, I love this. Some amazing videos have been cropping up all year, especially from artists who haven't been able to perform live on the stage. The restrictions forced many of our creatives to really think laterally and has given us all front row tickets to some amazing performances.
Oh, I've loved it. We've seen Broadway stars perform on Manhattan rooftops. The Alvin Alley Modern Dance Company in the US turned out some amazing stuff, and 2 ballet stars in Moscow have given classical ballet a whole new audience.
Well, 64-year-old Tony Yap is an award-winning performer who decided to film himself during his daily allowable exercise, dancing in the empty streets around his Brunswick home. And his routines are proving a massive hit online. Tony, what made you start dancing in ISO?
Well, dance is something I do as my art form. And, people might sketch or sing. But when I was in isolation, I had to get out. It's kind of like the cabin fever situation. Anywhere you go out, you feel better. But when I dance, it's something else happens. I felt like I could express things that I couldn't really talk about. When I put it on social media, and that response was a complete circle because people were getting something out of it. And I felt like I was still performing with a different audience. And most of the times I did it in the mornings when there are not many people. And I would walk alleyways and places that I never usually stop to look or go. And so suddenly I feel myself like another kind of pace of looking at things. I slow down. There's no hurry. And that gave me a kind of reflective time for myself. So it's a reflective time.
That very first moment when you're walking through your local street and you were moved to dance, what was it? What made you think, I know, I'm just going to dance?
I think the first ones must be the alleyways where there are a lot of graffiti. These artists haven't been noticed very much, but I can imagine them standing there painting, all this incredible work. And suddenly I felt like I was in a gallery and I felt like I was connected with them in some ways. Other times it is just nature, like the sun setting or in the mornings when I go for walks. And I always feel like dancing, So when I dance to connect, I think, I connect to my inner self and to my environment.
You say you dance to express how you're feeling. What sorts of feelings are you expressing?
Sometimes it's a bit like a cabin fever, like you've been home too much. So going out and dancing can be like a window of fresh air, I suppose. The way I could put it, but it definitely is also in dance, you feel better, like I suppose any kind of physical activity.
Well, you say that it makes you feel better, but it's also making a lot of people around the world feel better because they're really connecting with you and loving what you're doing.
Well, that's a gift for me. I mean, that's a surprise. That was a great surprise.
What kind of comments have you received? What are people saying to you?
Well, some say that, it made them cry, and which I thought was very touching. So I thought you must have been some soulful kind of elements in my dance. And others say it helped them through lockdown themselves, which I was surprised. A lot of other comments, mostly thank you.
And one of your posts did receive over 63,000 views. Tell us about that particular dance.
A few comments of women saying they wish more men would do that. Men don't show their feelings so much. And in that dance, I showed a lot of feeling and emotion. So that appealed. That was the one that appealed to so many people.
Are you still dancing?
I am. I don't think I can ever stop dancing.
There's an old saying, dance like no one's watching. But you're doing this in a very public environment, and a lot of people would be quite, I suppose, embarrassed or shy about that. Would you recommend it for others?
I would. when you dance like nobody's watching, it's almost, I don't know, it's almost like a little poem. People are really happy seeing people dancing around. You get the energy and then you give a bit more.
Well, it's sort of ironic that Tony says he dances like no one's watching. His routines have racked up tens of thousands of views online. It's great stuff from Tony.
Oh, and he's so beautiful to watch. He's so elegant. I just love Tony. And dancing is a great way to get the blood pumping and get that healthy, rosy glow. You should try it, Darcy.
You're a big dancer, aren't you? I notice the music comes on, you're always moving.
I love it. I just love it. I'm not particularly good at it, but it just makes you feel alive. And to keep your skin looking bright and youthful, the best weapons are found in nature.
I think we're all pretty well versed on the many benefits of consuming vitamin C, but did you know it can also have topical benefits? Skin Doctor's potent vitamin C ampules contain pure vitamin C, also known as ascorbic acid, at 10% concentration to help protect your skin from premature aging, environmental damage, and help promote more youthful, radiant, firmer skin. And the best part is that each of these little ampules is made of biodegradable seaweed, so you can flush them afterwards without creating any extra waste. After cleansing, you apply 1 ampule to the face and neck, avoiding the eye area. Oh my gosh, so silky. The active ingredients inside are protected from air and light in this encapsulated form, and they're also protected from oil and water, which can deteriorate the ingredients inside. These potent vitamin C ampules work instantly to activate collagen production in the skin and help the skin look dramatically firmer, younger, and more radiant instantly. Hello, spring glow.
Welcome back. Last year, Victorian firefighter Steve Watts told his very personal story of grappling with Parkinson's disease. Joe, incredible hearing someone who's been front and centre at some of the city's most ferocious fires and how they navigate their way around something they have absolutely no control over. Parkinson's disease is the country's second most common neurological disease after dementia, and in most cases, the cause remains a mystery.
Yeah, Parkinson's can hit anyone at any time, even if there's no prior family history, as we saw with Steve. He's a great spokesperson because he is so determined. He's still fighting the fight to help others beat it and hopefully one day find a cure. We first met you and your family on the House of Wellness a year ago. How has your Parkinson's changed in that time?
It's probably increased in a number of areas, with the tremor. And I guess what I've done is probably become more educated that there's not a one-stop shop, as I call it, just for Parkinson's. You need a team of people looking after you, to be honest.
Do you think there's a greater awareness of the illness and the signs now?
Generally, I don't see a huge jump in awareness. I still talk to many people who say that they don't know what they hadn't heard of Parkinson's. So I think the message is slowly getting out, but I think it's got a ways to go yet.
What kind of understanding would you like to see in the community?
For someone with Parkinson's who gets a little bit rattled at the supermarket, say, for instance, really simple stuff can just really unnerve you. And, I've had experience of that. You have a wave of anxiety just roll over the top of you, and I'd never felt that before. And, some days you just want to back into a cupboard and stay there. Particularly going out, I've found more and more difficult. And because you have a dry mouth and that sort of thing, you might start to bite your tongue and blur your speech, and people are very short, and that certainly doesn't help.
And you have been with Fire Rescue Victoria, or previously MFB, for over 30 years. How has your relationship with that job and your career changed?
The fire service has been really supportive. So, they've allocated me to community education roles or some other roles where, I'm not required to go on the fire grounds.
Tell us about the 48-hour challenge that happened in October.
Yeah, so Fire Rescue Victoria, being a statewide fire service, the firefighters on each of the 4 platoons did some activity where they walked or got on a treadmill, or within the COVID safety plan, of course, and raised money. And the Firefighter Charity Fund donated $1 for each kilometre that the firefighters did over the 48-hour time frame. So we conducted that in support of the Parkinsons Victoria 27 for Parkinsons campaign that they're running over the month of October, and we had some great results out of that.
Well, obviously, Steve, it's critical to keep working towards a cure, but equally as important is understanding within the community and awareness of this illness.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. The money raised goes back to Parkinsons Victoria to develop and to, continue to roll out services and support that they give to people living with Parkinson's. But, more importantly, it's about making sure that people living with Parkinson's are looked after and maintaining some form of, normality in their life.
As Steve said, 27 for Parkinson's replaces the traditional A Walk in the Park event, which can't be held this year due to COVID. And the event is being run throughout October, so head to the Parkinson's Walk website to donate to those taking part.
Well, stick around because the very genial grandfather, Gerald Quigley, is coming up next to clear up some of your most asked health questions right here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back. Some interesting research that's just come to hand, Joe, about cloth masks. It seems hand washing is just not cutting it.
While it can be tempting to use the same cloth mask for days in a row and give it a hand wash or a wipe down, the latest washing data shows that this increases the risk of contamination. So the World Health Organization recommends that cloth masks are washed every day in hot water at 60 degrees Celsius with laundry detergent. Of course, if you wear a surgical mask, you just replace it every day.
Yes, the research on masks is clearly a work in progress, Joe. So much going on around the design, fabric and construction.
Our resident mask-wearing herbalist and pharmacist Gerald Quigley recently became a grandfather for the 5th time. Here he is with all the things you wanted to know about tackling some pesky skin conditions the natural way.
We get lots of inquiries from parents about teenage acne. It can be really troublesome, particularly when they're starting to grow and develop. Genetics plays a role, but also high sugar, high fat food as well. Very important to have a fundamentally simple skincare regime twice a day. Zinc plays a role, but if needed, it's important to have a chat to your doctor. You may be given antibiotics short or long term and even referred on to a skin specialist. Another annoying skin condition is shingles. Now, shingles occurs because of a reactivation of the chickenpox virus. It's supposed to heal in 2 to 4 weeks, according to the experts, but often lasts for months and months, particularly with nerve pain. Lipoic acid is the ideal antioxidant for nerve pain. It can make a real difference, along with turmeric extract. And don't forget rest, really important to hasten your recovery. And finally, a number of viewers have asked about something that can make mealtime really uncomfortable, and that's mouth ulcers. And mouth ulcers occur because of damage done to the interior lining of our mouth. It might be dry food, it can be a dental procedure, biting our gum, even dry mouth syndrome. There is a paste available that you can put onto that ulcerated area, and there's even a capsule made that is specifically formulated to heal them. Switching to a fluoride-free toothpaste can sometimes help. If your symptoms persist, please ask the advice of your healthcare practitioner. And remember, live well, be well, stay well.
So, Darcy, it's spring, there's lots of pollen in the air, which also means an increased risk for hay fever and asthma. So be prepared. If you suffer from either of those conditions, get an asthma plan in place, check in with your GP, have your medication ready and make sure people around you know what to do if you have an episode.
Yeah, great call, Joe. Well, that's all we have time for today. Log on to the House of Wellness website for more great information. Listen to Joe's podcast with Emma Murray.
Yes.
What's going on there?
Well, it's all about mindfulness. If you wanted to know what that is and how you might be able to learn it and take it into your life, very simple exercises. It's at podcastoneaustralia.com.au. It's called Best of You in the House of Wellness.
Been thinking about starting a daily practice in mindfulness. Go and check that out for sure. Tune into the House of Wellness radio show with Joe and GQ every Sunday. And thanks, as always, to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. We'll see you next time.
There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling